you want to successfully complete the WGU C191 Objective Assessment for Operating Systems for Programmers course? Then you're in the right place. Our website provides a list of questions and answers with an emphasis on preparing for your success in the Operating Systems for Programmers C191 course. In this video, we will cover questions from process management, CPU scheduling, memory management, concurrency, /sync, and OS concepts. So, let's get started. 1. What is the purpose of a process control block, PCB? A. To store the contents of a file. B. To manage system I/O operations. C. To store all the information needed to manage a process. D. To store information about the hardware. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. To store all the information needed to manage a process. Explanation: a PCB contains process-specific information like process state, process ID, program counter, registers, and memory limits, allowing the operating system to manage processes efficiently. 2. What is the primary function of the short-term scheduler? A. To manage memory allocation. B. To select which process will be executed next by the CPU. C. To manage the storage of data on disk. D. To control access to I/O devices. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. To select which process will be executed next by the CPU. Explanation: the short-term scheduler, CPU scheduler, selects processes from the ready queue to execute on the CPU, ensuring efficient CPU utilization. 3. In which state does a process wait for an event to occur? A. Ready. B. Running. C. Blocked. D. Terminated. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Blocked. Explanation: a process is in the blocked, or waiting, state when it is waiting for some event, such as I/O completion, to continue its execution. 4. What occurs when a process transitions from the ready state to the running state? A. The process is removed from memory. B. The process is preempted, e.c. the CPU scheduler selects the process to run D. The process requests an I/O operation. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. The CPU scheduler selects the process to run. Explanation: a process transitions from ready to running when it is selected by the CPU scheduler for execution on the CPU. 5. What is context switching? A. The process of switching between kernel mode and user mode. B. The process of switching from one CPU to another. C. The process of switching the CPU from one process to another. D. The process of switching memory segments. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. The process of switching the CPU from one process to another. Explanation: context switching occurs when the CPU is switched from executing one process to another. The CPU's state, including registers and program counter, is saved and restored. 6. Which scheduling algorithm is most suitable for time-sharing systems? A. First come, first served. B. Shortest job. Next C. Round robin. D. Priority scheduling. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Round robin. Explanation: round robin scheduling is designed for time-sharing systems where each process is given a fixed time slice and the CPU switches between processes in a circular queue. 7. In priority scheduling, Which process is selected to run next? A. The process with the shortest burst time. B. The process with the longest waiting time. C. The process with the highest priority. D. The process that arrived first. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer: C. The process with the highest priority. Explanation: in priority scheduling, processes are assigned priorities, and the one with the highest priority is selected to run next. 8. What is a deadlock? A. When a process requests more memory than available. B. When multiple processes are stuck waiting on each other's resources. C. When a process runs out of time. D. When two processes have the same priority. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer: B. When multiple processes are stuck waiting on each other's resources. Explanation: deadlock occurs when processes are in a circular waiting state, with each process holding resources that the other processes need to proceed. 9. What is the purpose of mutual exclusion in concurrent systems? A. To allow multiple processes to access the same resource. B. To ensure that only one process accesses a shared resource at a time. C. To increase the priority of a process. D. To share memory between processes. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer: B. To ensure that only one process accesses a shared resource at a time. Explanation: mutual exclusion ensures that when one process is using a shared resource, no other process can access it simultaneously, preventing race conditions. 10. What does the banker's algorithm help prevent? A. Starvation. B. Deadlock. C. Memory leaks. D. Race conditions. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer: B. Deadlock. Explanation: the banker's algorithm is used to avoid deadlock by ensuring that resource allocation does not lead to unsafe states where deadlock could occur. 11. What is the function of the long-term scheduler? A. To suspend processes. B. To load processes into the ready queue. C. To manage memory allocation. D. To control CPU bursts. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer: B. To load processes into the ready queue. Explanation: the long-term scheduler selects which processes should be brought into the ready queue, regulating the degree of multi-programming in the system. 12. Which of the following is true about preemptive scheduling? A. The currently running process is allowed to run to completion. B. The scheduler can forcibly remove a process from the CPU. C. Processes are not prioritized. D. The CPU is only allocated based on I/O requests. Do you know the answer? Correct answer: B. The scheduler can forcibly remove a process from the CPU. Explanation: preemptive scheduling allows the operating system to interrupt the currently running process and allocate the CPU to a higher priority process. 13. What is the main goal of a time-sharing system? A. To maximize throughput. B. To minimize response time. C. To prioritize long jobs. D. To minimize CPU utilization. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer: B. To minimize response time. Explanation: time-sharing systems aim to provide quick responses to user inputs by sharing CPU time between processes, minimizing the waiting time for each process. 14. Which type of memory allocation leads to external fragmentation? A. Paging. B. Segmentation. C. Virtual memory. D. Demand paging. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. Segmentation. Explanation. Segmentation can lead to external fragmentation, as memory is allocated in variable-sized segments, which can leave gaps between allocated blocks over time. 15. What is the purpose of a page table? A. To map logical addresses to physical addresses. B. To manage process priorities. C. To track I/O operations. D. To keep track of running processes. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, A. To map logical addresses to physical addresses. Explanation. A page table translates a process's logical, virtual addresses into physical addresses in memory, facilitating efficient memory management. 16. What is a page fault? A. When the CPU encounters an illegal instruction. B. When a process tries to access memory that is not in RAM. C. When the operating system crashes. D. When a page table is full. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, B. When a process tries to access memory that is not in RAM. Explanation. A page fault occurs when a process tries to access a page that is not currently in main memory, RAM, prompting the OS to load it from secondary storage. 17. What is demand paging? A. Loading all pages of a process into memory at once. B. Loading pages into memory only when they are needed. C. Allocating memory for all processes at boot time. D. Using a fixed number of pages for each process. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. Loading pages into memory only when they are needed. Explanation. Demand paging. Loads pages into memory only when they are required by the process, which helps reduce memory usage and improves performance. 18. In which memory management scheme are fixed-size blocks used? A. Segmentation. B. Paging. C. Virtual memory. D. Contiguous allocation. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, B. Paging. Explanation. Paging divides memory into fixed-size blocks, pages, and maps them to physical frames, helping to prevent external fragmentation. 19. What is the main advantage of virtual memory? A. It allows faster CPU operations. B. It allows processes to run even if they exceed physical memory limits. C. It improves I/O performance. D. It eliminates the need for secondary storage. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. It allows processes to run even if they exceed physical memory limits. Explanation. Virtual memory enables processes to use more memory than is physically available by paging memory in and out of secondary storage as needed. 20. What is thrashing in memory management? A. When a process is terminated unexpectedly. B. When the CPU spends most of its time swapping pages in and out of memory. C. When a process runs out of memory. D. When the page table becomes too large. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. When the CPU spends most of its time swapping pages in and out of memory. Explanation. Thrashing occurs when there is excessive paging, causing the CPU to spend more time on page faults than executing processes, significantly degrading performance. 21. What is the role of the TLB, translation look-aside buffer? A. To store page tables. B. To cache recently used page table entries. C. To store physical addresses. D. To manage process priorities. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. To cache recently used page table entries. Explanation. The TLB is a high-speed cache used to store recent translations of logical to physical addresses, speeding up memory access for frequently accessed pages. 22. What does FIFO page replacement stand for? A. First input, first output. B. First in, first out. C. Fast I/O frequency. D. File in, file out. Can you guess the answer? Correct. Answer. B. First in, first out. Explanation. FIFO page replacement works by removing the oldest page from memory when a new page needs to be loaded, regardless of the page's usage frequency. 23. In a multi-level paging system, why is the page table divided into levels? A. To reduce the size of each page. B. To reduce memory usage for large address spaces. C. To avoid using secondary storage. D. To prioritize certain processes. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. To reduce memory usage for large address spaces. Explanation. Multi-level paging divides the page table into smaller levels to reduce the amount of memory needed to store large page tables for processes with large address spaces. 24. Which scheduling algorithm may cause starvation? A. First come, first served. B. Round robin. C. Shortest job. Next D. Multi-level queue. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Shortest job. Next explanation. In the shortest job. Next SJN scheduling algorithm. Longer processes may be starved if shorter processes continuously arrive and are prioritized over them. 25. What is a critical section in concurrency? A. A section of code that only runs when memory is available. B. A part of a program that accesses shared resources and must be executed atomically. C. A section of code that requires additional CPU time. D. A part of a program that initializes hardware devices. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. A part of a program that accesses shared resources and must be executed atomically. Explanation. A critical section is a part of a program that accesses shared resources and must be executed without interference from other processes to avoid race conditions. 26. Which of the following can prevent deadlock? A. Mutual exclusion. B. Circular wait. C. Hold and wait. D. Resource allocation graph. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. D. Resource allocation graph. Explanation. A resource allocation graph helps detect and prevent deadlock by visually representing the allocation of resources and the requests made by processes. 27. What is starvation in process scheduling? A. When a process has no resources to execute. B. When a process waits indefinitely for CPU time. C. When a process is terminated unexpectedly. D. When a process exceeds its time. Quantum. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. When a process waits indefinitely for CPU time. Explanation. Starvation occurs when a process is continually overlooked by the CPU scheduler, often because higher priority processes are consistently given preference. 28. In a paging system, what is the purpose of a frame? A. To store the program counter. B. To store the current state of a process. C. To hold a fixed size block of physical memory. D. To manage I/O operations. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. To hold a fixed-size block of physical memory. Explanation. A frame is a fixed-size block of physical memory used to store a page of a process's virtual memory, enabling the efficient mapping of virtual to physical addresses. 29. What is the difference between preemptive and non-preemptive scheduling? A. Preemptive scheduling allows processes to complete before being interrupted. B. Preemptive scheduling can interrupt processes, while non-preemptive cannot. C. Non-preemptive scheduling only occurs in batch systems. D. Non-preemptive scheduling does not require CPU utilization. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Preemptive scheduling can interrupt processes, while non-preemptive cannot. Explanation. In preemptive scheduling, the operating system can interrupt a process to allocate the CPU to another process, whereas non-preemptive scheduling allows processes to run to completion before switching. 30. What is an 𝗏/𝗏 process? A. A process that primarily performs computation. B. A process that spends more time waiting for I/O than CPU execution. C. A process that requires large amounts of memory. D. A process that uses a lot of CPU time. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. A process that spends more time waiting for I/O than CPU execution. Explanation. 𝗏/𝗏 processes spend most of their time waiting for input/output operations to complete, using little CPU time compared to CPU-bound processes. Struggling with your WGU exams? We've all been there. Welcome to OAExams.com, your ultimate resource for WGU success. Find over 15,000 plus questions and answers. Join our thriving community of over 10,000 active WGU students and an impressive 100% success rate with our premium exam support. Visit OAExams.com today and take the first step toward guaranteed success. 31. What is a thread? A. A unit of CPU execution within a process. B. A standalone program. C. A process that cannot be preempted. D. A section of memory. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. A unit of CPU execution within a process. Explanation. A thread is the smallest unit of execution within a process, allowing multiple threads to run concurrently within the same process and share resources. 32. What is the main advantage of multi-threading in a process? A. It speeds up I/O operations. B. It reduces memory usage. C. It allows concurrent execution of tasks within the same process. D. It increases CPU utilization. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. It allows concurrent execution of tasks within the same process. Explanation. Multi-threading allows different parts of a program to run concurrently, improving the overall efficiency of tasks that can be performed in parallel. 33. Which type of memory allocation allows processes to grow dynamically? A. Contiguous allocation. B. Segmentation. C. Paging. D. Fixed partitioning. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Segmentation. Explanation. In segmentation, memory is allocated in segments, which can grow or shrink dynamically as the process requires, without the need for contiguous memory space. 34. In demand paging, what occurs when a page is not in memory? A. The operating system swaps the page into memory. B. The operating system terminates the process. C. The operating system allocates more memory. D. The page is ignored. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. The operating system swaps the page into memory. Explanation. In demand paging, when a page is not present in memory and a process tries to access it, a page fault occurs, and the operating system brings the required page into memory from secondary storage. 35. What is a bounded buffer problem? A. A situation where processes do not release memory. B. A synchronization problem where a buffer has limited capacity. C. A memory management issue related to paging. D. A CPU scheduling problem. What do you think is the answer? Correct. Answer. B. A synchronization problem where a buffer has limited capacity. Explanation. The bounded buffer problem is a synchronization issue where producers and consumers must share a fixed size buffer, requiring coordination to avoid buffer overflows or underflows. 36. What is the purpose of the ready queue in CPU scheduling? A. To store processes waiting for I/O operations. B. To store terminated processes. C. To store processes that are ready to run but waiting for CPU time. D. To store processes that have completed execution. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. To store processes that are ready to run but waiting for CPU time. Explanation. The ready queue holds processes that are ready for execution but are waiting for the CPU to become available, ensuring efficient scheduling. 37. What is the function of a semaphore in concurrency control? A. To allocate memory for processes. B. To prevent deadlock. C. To signal and synchronize access to shared resources. D. To manage process priorities. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. To signal and synchronize access to shared resources. Explanation. Semaphores are synchronization primitives used to control access to shared resources by multiple processes, ensuring that resources are not accessed simultaneously by competing processes. 38. What is the purpose of the wait operation in semaphore handling? A. To release a resource. B. To decrease the semaphore value and possibly block the process. C. To increase the semaphore value and signal the next process. D. To allocate memory. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. To decrease the semaphore value and possibly block the process. Explanation. The wait operation decreases the value of a semaphore. If the semaphore's value becomes negative, the process is blocked until the resource becomes available. 39. What is the dining philosopher's problem? A. A deadlock problem involving multiple philosophers. B. A CPU scheduling issue. C. A memory allocation problem. D. A page replacement problem. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. A deadlock problem involving multiple philosophers. Explanation. The dining philosopher's problem is a classic example of a synchronization issue involving shared resources, where deadlock or starvation can occur if philosophers, processes, compete for limited forks, resources. 40. What is the primary function of a semaphore in operating systems? A. To allocate memory to processes. B. To synchronize access to shared resources between multiple processes or threads. C. To manage CPU scheduling. D. To handle process termination. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. To synchronize access to shared resources between multiple processes or threads. Explanation. A semaphore is a synchronization tool used to manage concurrent access to shared resources by multiple processes or threads, ensuring that critical sections of code are accessed safely and without conflicts. 41. What is the main disadvantage of the first come, first served FCFS scheduling algorithm? A. It may lead to starvation. B. It is difficult to implement. C. It can cause the convoy effect, where shorter processes are delayed by longer ones. D. It requires special hardware. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. It can cause the convoy effect, where shorter processes are delayed by longer ones. Explanation: FCFS scheduling can result in the convoy effect, where longer processes hold up shorter ones, leading to inefficient CPU utilization and longer waiting times for shorter jobs. 42. In the context of process synchronization, what does race condition mean? A. A condition where processes wait indefinitely. B. A condition where multiple processes read and write shared data simultaneously, leading to inconsistent results. C. A situation where all processes run concurrently. D. A condition where a process gets preempted before completing its task. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. A condition where multiple processes read and write shared data simultaneously, leading to inconsistent results. Explanation: a race condition occurs when the outcome of processes depends on the order in which instructions are executed, leading to incorrect or unpredictable results when processes access shared data concurrently. 43. What is the purpose of a monitor in process synchronization? A. To control access to shared resources. B. To allocate memory. C. To switch between processes. D. To terminate processes. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. To control access to shared resources. Explanation: a monitor is a high-level synchronization construct that provides mutual exclusion and condition synchronization, ensuring that only one process accesses shared resources at a time. 44. What is the main characteristic of a real-time system? A. It prioritizes batch processing. B. It must process tasks within a strict deadline. C. It allows processes to be swapped to disk frequently. D. It is optimized for multitasking. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. It must process tasks within a strict deadline. Explanation: a real-time system is designed to respond to inputs or events within a guaranteed time frame, ensuring that tasks are completed within specific deadlines. 45. What does fork do in Unix-based systems? A. It terminates a process. B. It creates a new process by duplicating the calling process. C. It allocates memory for a process. D. It signals the kernel to release resources. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. It creates a new process by duplicating the calling process. Explanation: the fork-𝗧𝗧 system call creates a new process by duplicating the calling process. The new process, child, gets a copy of the parent process's memory space, but it is an independent process. 46. What is a system call? A. A call made by the CPU to fetch instructions from memory. B. A method for user-level processes to request services from the operating system. C. A command to the compiler to optimize code. D. A signal sent to terminate a process. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. A method for user-level processes to request services from the operating system. Explanation: a system call is a mechanism that allows a user-level process to request services or resources, such as I/O operations or memory management, from the operating system. 47. Which of the following is true about non-blocking I/O? A. The process is suspended while waiting for I/O completion. B. The process continues executing other tasks while the I/O operation is still in progress. C. The process must reissue the request if I/O is not immediately available. D. I/O operations are completed in a fixed amount of time. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. The process continues executing other tasks while the I/O operation is still in progress. Explanation. In non-blocking I/O, the process can continue executing without waiting for the I/O operation to complete. It is useful for scenarios where the process needs to remain responsive while waiting for data. 48. What is meant by starvation in the context of resource allocation? A. When a process consumes all available resources. B. When a process is indefinitely denied access to required resources. C. When the CPU is overloaded. D. When a process runs out of memory. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. When a process is indefinitely denied access to required resources. Explanation. Starvation occurs when a process is continuously overlooked by the resource allocator, and as a result, it is never able to gain access to the resources it needs to proceed. 49. What is the function of the exec system call in Unix-based systems? A. To create a new process. B. To terminate a process. C. To replace the current process image with a new program. D. To allocate resources to a process. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, C. To replace the current process image with a new program. Explanation. The 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀 system call replaces the current process image with a new program, allowing a process to run a different program within the same process space. 50. What occurs during context switching? A. The operating system terminates a process. B. The CPU switches from one process to another by saving the state of the current process and loading the state of the next process. C. The operating system clears memory. D. The process is put into a suspended state. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. The CPU switches from one process to another by saving the state of the current process and loading the state of the next process. Explanation. Context switching involves the CPU saving the current state, registers, program counter, of a process and restoring the state of the next process, allowing multiple processes to share CPU time. You've reached the end of our first question set. For the complete exam preparation experience, visit us at OAExams.com, where you'll find thousands more practice questions and comprehensive study guides. Thanks for studying with us today. See you in the next video.